Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network.
And remember, this is a man that said he wants the transition to be smooth. Well, you don't do the kind of things. You don't have a judge working real hard to try and embarrass you. Because I did nothing wrong. By the way, I did nothing, absolutely nothing wrong. If I did something wrong, I wouldn't be standing here right now because I've won all these cases. Nobody's ever won so many cases as I have against the Justice Department. I mean, Jack Smith had cases all over the place. People were being subpoenaed. Lives were being ruined. They were spending everything they had, money. We were helping them out. We had to. They were subpoenaing people that had no idea what they were even talking about. That's a sick group of people. And it was all to influence the election. It was all a fight against a political opponent. We've never had that in this country. We have had that in certain countries. We've had that in third-tier countries. We've had that in banana republics, but we've never had that in a place like the United States. I don't even know if it's been on a small level. I'm sure it has been on a small level, but this was the largest level ever. They brought this moron out of The Hague. He's a mean guy. He's a mean, nasty guy. His picture was perfect because you look at his picture, you say, that's a bad guy with his robe, his purple robe. And he executes people. He shouldn't be allowed to execute people because he'll execute everybody. He's a nut job.
So, Frank, to Janet Napolitano's point, this is just, first of all, Trump's not even in office yet, but how dangerous, to her point, is this to law enforcement when you have what will be the president just shooting off misinformation immediately? First of all, based on an erroneous Fox News report that this was, this guy was an illegal immigrant that had come across the border, when, as we know, it turns out he's an American citizen born in Texas, right?
Yeah, what we're going to experience on steroids is the difference between fact-based truth and Trump-based truth. So if Trump wants to tell us that this guy in New Orleans came over the border, about half the country is going to be willing to take it and swallow it. And let's look at the news this morning. Meta has decided that they're not going to do fact-checking anymore.
Yeah.
So now we're in an environment where there's really no counter to the lies being put out. This guy had no connection to the border. We can't even find an international connection directly, other than probably sitting at home online getting recruited remotely.
And I think of Chris Wray testifying, what we all know, that the statistic 90-something% of our terrorism problem, of course, is right-wing, white supremacist, whatever you want to call it, extremism here in the United States. Well, Trump, no one will ever say that. Everything will be, it's all left-wing violence, because they say that no matter what. And I don't know how law enforcement works in that environment.
Trump has said, repeatedly on day one, he's going to pardon at least some, if not all, of the January 6th defendants. So it's literally rewriting history. This idea of, hey, don't look over here at domestic extremism. Look over here at the border. That's a problem. We have a legit problem with homegrown violent extremists of the violent jihad nature. And if we're, if we're going to pretend that, oh, no, they're not Americans, they're not Texans, they're not Army veterans, then we're going to have a problem getting out in front of them.
And look at this. He said barely a word about the Vegas bomber who was a MAGA extremist, basically, that blew up the Tesla, right? I mean, it basically was the same rhetoric from January 6th. So we got to kill all the Democrats in Washington, blah, blah, blah. I mean,
well, I also think the media is partly to blame here, Stephanie, because they're really not publishing a lot of this guy's in Las Vegas. A lot of this guy's very pro-Trump statements. Now, he was suffering from PTSD, mental illness. The guy was a sergeant in the Green Berets. It's a horrible, tragic story. Yeah. But let's not suppress what may have motivated this guy.
Yeah. Well, to this whole point, Trump has had a lot to say in the aftermath of the attack in New Orleans. Most of it has been, I love this reporting, deeply unfortunate, meaning untrue. He has peddled ugly misinformation. So, but the one element people are commenting on, so I just want to get your take on it. He said the DOJ, FBI, and departments, state and local prosecutors have not done their job. They're incompetent and corrupt, having spent all their waking hours unlawfully attacking their political opponent, me, rather than focusing on protecting Americans from outside an inside violent scum that has infiltrated all aspects of our government and our nation itself. Democrats should be ashamed of themselves for allowing this to happen to our country. The CIA must get involved now before it's too late. So, as this piece points out, get involved how exactly? It's not unclear like who or what Trump expects the CIA to investigate. It would be bizarre given that they have no jurisdiction, right? There's supposed to be foreign intelligence gathering. The matter can be handled by state, local, and federal law enforcement. Maybe he envisions a scenario in which the agency targets state, local, and federal prosecutors. If so, that would probably be illegal. Not sure that will matter in Trump 2.0. Perhaps he'd like to see the CIA hunt for the violent scum that he says has infiltrated our government. Once again, these people don't appear to exist in reality. The CIA has no such authority to launch a scum search. I mean, the ways he's going to use the FBI, CIA, you name it, is just sort of boggles the mind, doesn't it?
We're in for some real potential abuses of authority and power, or just as you said with regard to CIA, just outright discarding the rules and laws about what the CIA can do, what the NSA can do. So now you're going to have potentially Kash Patel at heading up FBI. You're going to have his man John Ratcliffe over at CIA. And yes, could he turn those agencies into domestic spy agencies? Absolutely. Would we ever know about it until it's too late, particularly with CIA? We won't know.
Yeah. So you retweeted a piece that the man responsible for the truck attack in New Orleans on New Year's Day that killed 14 people visited the city twice before and recorded video of the French Quarter with Meta smart glasses. Yep. I'm a techno spaz, so this is way above my pay grade. So they believe, as Janet Napolitano was saying, he acted alone. But talk to us about that particular thing. I guess he could have live streamed the horrible event, but he didn't. But tell us about those.
Well, with regard to the Meta glasses, it appears he was using them for himself, meaning go back home after you ride your bike around the French Quarter, look at what you've done, and see if you've got identified vulnerability spots, targets, weak areas. You know, he wanted to case the place, as they say. I find I've written a column last week on MSNBC Daily about Turo, which is a commonality between the Las Vegas case and the New Orleans case.
I was just going to ask you. Talk about what. Go ahead. Go ahead. Talk about what it is. You said.
Yeah, and I want to be careful to say, look, there's no inherently evil thing about Turo. Lots of people use it. It's a cheap alternative. Yeah. But don't mistake it for a brick and mortar rental car company. You can loan out your car for a fee to anybody who wants to rent it. And here's the problem for law enforcement. Turo is, over the last few years, being used for crimes, including bank robbery, human smuggling, drug dealing, because that license plate comes back to you. It's your car. It doesn't come back to the rental company. And that makes it very hard and prolongs law enforcement's efforts to figure out whose car it really is and who's really in that car committing the criminal act.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I have a personal question since I happen to have a former FBI agent on. So my sister and her family were out visiting, and they borrowed my car to go visit my brother-in-law's family, and apparently they got on a toll road by accident. And my sister's like, oh, I'm really sorry. I think they got a picture of your license plate, so you're probably going to get it.
They'll mail you a bill.
Yeah, they will. They'll mail you a bill.
Yeah.
You'll get the bill.
They will. Yeah.
I'm like, thanks, Mayor. Okay.
But Stephanie, you just
pay
explained
it, that's all.
Really very, very succinctly how Turo is a problem.
Right. I'm like, thanks. That wasn't me. It was my stupid sister. Okay.
You're not going to get a ticket. You're just going to get a bill for the toll.
Yes, I will be sending that right along to North Carolina.
Yes.
But so, I hadn't even heard about this. But so both of the New Orleans and they had used Turo. So you said, as you just said, reports suggest peer-to-peer rentals are more likely to attract criminals and be used by criminals than those from vehicle rental companies. And you just said you did say it's too bad that companies are trying to make renting a vehicle cheaper for the renter and safe and lucrative for the owner have to contend with people using it to commit crimes. So, but you talk about how it slows down law enforcement, though, right? So talk about that for a sec.
Yeah, it's a speed bump, no pun intended. It is because those officers, Border Patrol has complained about this because of the drug and human smuggling around the border, and they run a license plate. It comes back to Frank Figluzzi, but I don't know. I rented my car to some guy, and now he's using it for smuggling, and it takes a long time to figure out what has really transpired there.
Yeah.
That's the issue. The other thing that's happening with Turo is you have a choice if you're going to rent your car out. You can have somebody come to your home, which obviously is problematic, and pick up the car. Now they know your address, or you could say, hey, it's on the corner of Maple and Oak. And the keys are in the car, and it's those cars are getting stolen left and right by people who just browse the app and go, "Hey, there's a rental car on Maple and Oak."
This seems like a bad idea on so many levels, but
But it is cheaper. It's a lot cheaper than renting a car.
It is cheaper.
Right, but also, as you were saying, if it's a terrorism investigation, it slows you down because if you don't know, for instance, someone acted alone, it's slowing you down finding out what's happening.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. They got to get better at this, and I feel for the owner of Turo. They were about to have an initial public offering to go public, and now it's like, oh God.
Yeah. So save this story for you too. Federal agents found one of the largest stockpiles of homemade explosives they've ever seized. They arrested a Virginia man on firearms charges last month. More than 150 pipe bombs and other devices. Several apparent pipe bombs were found in a backpack in the home's bedroom, completely unsecured. He shares the home with his wife and 2 young children. What could go wrong there? But so interestingly, in terms of law enforcement, Frank, it says defense attorneys argued in a motion that authorities haven't produced evidence he was planning any violence. Maybe he's doing a reboot of the Roadrunner cartoon. Maybe he needed. Yeah,
he works for Acme, Stephanie.
Yeah, maybe he works for Acme.
Uh-huh.
I think he's trying to get the Eagle Scout badge for bombs. That's probably what happened there. It was just a homework assignment. Look, what this tells us, Stephanie, is first, through my 25 years of law enforcement, I was consistently amazed at what is out on the street. I mean, it can literally make you sick to your stomach. I never forget, in Cleveland, Ohio, we had a house, went upstairs in the attic. There were unopened crates of fully automatic rifles. And I mean, that's what you're up against. Yeah. And the concern moving forward with the Trump administration is if we're going to take our eyes off the domestic terror problem, we're going to see this happen a lot.
I omitted a key piece of evidence to an FBI agent. He also, was using pictures of President Biden for target practice that he believed that political assassination should be brought back. So now, I don't know what you need to charge.
Brought back? When was it ever a proper thing?
Right, but I mean, I guess what they're saying is the judge determined that he could be released into house arrest into his mom's home. What? Why does, first of all, the January 6th zip cut tie guy, his mom, brought his mom to the insurrection. But I mean, to me, he's a clear and present danger, but I guess even if you find that much stuff, there's nothing you can charge, Frank?
Here's a message to all the moms out there. If there's a full-grown adult living in your basement, you might want to do some intelligence collection, just suggesting that. Because it seems to be a theme here.
If he has an unnatural interest in zip ties.
Yeah.
But can you see how difficult the challenge is for the FBI, the ATF? Yeah. And by the way, let's talk, the ATF has been very visible in both Las Vegas and New Orleans in those cases, right? They are the alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives experts. And we are talking about Trump counselors saying, we need to do away with the ATF. They don't like guns. Let's just do away with it. That's where we're headed.
Here's the one bright spot in the story, I hate to say, but it's just perhaps his own incompetence. He apparently only has 2 fingers on his right hand. So he might not...
a clue. We call that a clue.
That's a clue, yes.
Might not be that good at the explosives game. Okay, one last one I say for you. A leader of the right-wing militia group Oath Keepers has been exposed as a former homicide detective in the Las Vegas Police Department who was disgraced for advocating race war, according to a new report. The movement was central, of course, to the January 6th insurrection. It has grown and is adding multiple members with law enforcement backgrounds. These disclosures show, once again, police departments aren't taking the threat of extremists in the ranks seriously. Lawrence O'Donnell, of course, caused controversy on the right by saying, military veterans have caused, more violence here than people coming across the border, which is statistically true. He goes back to Tim McVeigh, so Frank, let's talk about that because it's only going to get worse under Trump, whether it's in the military or the police department.
So you don't think Pete Hegseth, as Secretary of Defense, is going to
Oh,
fix
yeah, that should
the
solve that. You're right.
extremist
I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, we're talking about Hegseth as SecDef, and he's got tattoos on him that by some accounts are known white supremacist tattoos, right? Now, he's going to claim they're Christian, and you can have that argument at the Senate Judiciary Committee. But here's the thing. We have a disproportionate number of military and law enforcement veterans, and you just look at January 6 arrests there, who are searching for a cause, and the bad guys are more than likely to recruit them for their cause. And we're not doing enough. Both New Orleans and Las Vegas suspects, veterans.
Yeah.
We're not doing enough to give these folks direction and mission and counter the homegrown extremism problem here. And if we don't do it, they will find a way to act out and find their own purpose. And it's not going to get suppressed under the next administration.
I'm here with the incredibly handsome Dr. David Silverman to talk about ASEA Renew that I am holding in my hand. This stuff is amazing. Revitalizing Redox Gel. You hold up, you have you can either, it comes in drink form and this is the gel form. I love, first of all, that supermodel Carol Alt will be promoting this. She's taken so many jobs from me, so I am so happy.
Just to give some context, because I have to tell you that this is very unique. This is not, it's not a pharmaceutical, it's not a nutritional product. It's something that our cells make. It's called redox signaling molecules. But bottom line is, our cells make redox signaling molecules. Your body makes it right now, but we all made more of it when we were younger. What's in this bottle is in you, it's in me, right? But I'll be 64 in 2 weeks and I feel like I'm 30 years old. I've been drinking this for 13 years.
Wow. Doc, what a thrill to meet you and to hear more about this, because, you know, it's you just kind of go, oh, it works, but to hear about the why is really is fascinating to me. Dr. David Silverman, what a joy and a pleasure, and thank you so much.